Is the way we're teaching our children the only way to teach them?
Find out today at Dyslexic and Unstoppable.
Hi, it's Dr. Doug Curtis.
And Lucy Curtis from Dyslexic and Unstoppable. Our mission is to help dyslexics rediscover their inner power.
That's right, and we recently had an interaction that we thought was interesting because it kind of brought up how we as parents have to be conscious of how a child's learning, right? So why don't you talk a little bit about what happened and just talk about
Right. It's just, for me, is I learn differently, so I approach a project or something or a question differently, right? So I have another way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go to school, sometimes we're taught a different specific way.
Right,
That's their learning, their left brain way, their rigid way sometimes, and people don't. They mean well,
Mm-hmm.
but they keep repeating the same thing over and over. And I try to say, well, we don't understand what you're saying.
Right.
Doesn't mean we're not smart. It's just we don't learn that way. But because they're not trained or they don't realize that explaining it a different way will help
Mm-hmm.
connect the information.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to just get annoyed that we're not doing it the way they're doing it.
Right, right. Well, I mean, I think it brings up so many times, it brings up the times that I've talked about with me when we first started going through this and we needed to realize our son was dyslexic. And I would get frustrated when he would be going over the words again and again, or, we'd be reading a book together and we sounded out a word on one page and 2 pages later he didn't get it again. And I'm like, why? And I would start to get frustrated. So, realizing that he just learns a different way, that he doesn't, repetition doesn't help him, that we've seen that in friends of ours, in family members, in people we've met through book signings and that kind of stuff, where even the smartest people that we know, they mean that well, like you say, and yet when they get in that situation and they think, well, just drill it harder, and sometimes you have to realize, wait a minute, let's take a step back and look at the situation and figure out, what actually does my child need?
How bringing other solutions in, especially with colors, like we say a lot about with spelling and things like that, color and visual things, and not just the black and white spelling word things, but like having a totally different approach of how could I help my child. And sometimes you don't have the answer, so you have to go to somebody else, because if you don't understand what the problem is, you can't really fix it until you understand how they'll learn differently.
Right, exactly. So anyway, just an observation we've made. We'd love to hear what you think. Leave us a comment below and visit us at Dyslexic and Unstoppable.